Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unanswered Questions. Sometimes we get so many questions in our live broadcasts, we don't have enough time to answer them. And we're going to do the top-rated ones now. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Darren.
Let's get into some questions, shall we?
Yeah.
First question is, how does one stay safe as a YouTuber?
This falls in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what kind of YouTuber you're looking to be. If you are more of a personality YouTuber, you're generally going to be a little more public, but usually you're investing more in proper privacy security tools that will help you. If you're more of just like a gaming type YouTuber, normally you're not designed to be more public, so it really depends on what you want to be. Good passwords, good security, good email security, and definitely making sure what you click on is appropriate.
For sure. Next question.
What if someone pulls my IP address?
I'll answer that one. Nothing illegal about it.
No,
Right? Like an IP address is usually public by design, so there's nothing illegal about somebody pulling it. However, if they start doxing it, that becomes an issue legally.
Or
right?
they're making threats about it. You know,
exactly.
I'm going to do this to you because I know this IP address.
Yeah, but just pulling somebody's IP is not illegal.
No, every website you visit knows your IP.
Yeah, for sure. Next one.
If someone is spamming and you block them, but they make a new account and they keep spamming over and over again, what should I do?
Go for it.
Generally, it's keep blocking them. Usually, the online platforms you are using have a online reporting feature. Usually, someone who's spamming you is probably spamming other people. If enough people report them, they can be banned, removed, and deleted from that platform. If it becomes more criminal harassment, then there are some legal steps you can take from that. Rare it gets to that stage, but normally submit a report that they are violating the rules of the platform.
Great recommendations.
If I were to report to you about a problem, where do I do this?
I'll answer that one. Well, there's a variety of different ways. You can do it on the app or Facebook, the White Hatter app. You can do it on Instagram. A lot of students will connect with us on Instagram as well to do it that way, or via our email is another good way that you can connect with us.
If a big computer was destroyed, so like a big massive supercomputer or data center, does the data still exist? Generally it does. A lot of data centers and server farms have backups off property. So if one computer, explodes, there's usually a backup somewhere they can pull from. Yeah. So it really depends, but most major companies have backups.
I mean, as a smaller company, we have backups to the backup. Like you've created not just a backup, but a backup to that backup.
Yeah, technically there's 3 levels of backups.
Yeah. Next question. I'll ask this one. What was the password app that you showed us called? It's called Last, L-A-S-T, Pass, P-A-S-S, Last Pass, and you can download it for both Android and iPhone devices.
Yep.
I'll ask you what was the VPN you preferred? We use PIA, Private Internet Access is the one that we prefer. Are there others out there, Brandon?
Yeah, there's Nord, there is TunnelBear, there's a bunch of other ones. Any of the big names are usually going to be okay.
And why is a VPN, a virtual privacy network, important, Brandon? Maybe for those people who are watching this who don't know what a VPN is, it stands for virtual privacy network, but why are VPNs important from a safety and security standpoint?
Well, they just tunnel your internet connection to a different computer, so if someone's tracking you, they see your activity from a different computer than your own personal computer. So it definitely makes you more secure, more private, not anonymous.
It encrypts the messaging too, right? In most cases.
From point A to point B. Now, if you're using an unsecured messaging service, the endpoint will be unencrypted. Right. So there are other layers.
The other thing is like we mentioned in the presentation, be careful of the free VPNs. Number one, they're free because they're collecting what you're doing and selling it. Number two, free VPNs have a habit of slowing down your internet connection. So that's why we prefer recommending premium VPNs like Private Internet Access, PIA, $75 for a 3-year subscription. Like that's not per month. That's something like that. And you can download up to 10 devices. So we highly recommend VPNs as a part of the safety and security arsenal that you should have to protect yourself online.
Yep. Can literally anyone see my text messages? Well, not everyone, not anyone. Depends on what you're texting on. If it is an SMS text, so like from your cell phone to another cell phone through the cell network, it is a little more open.
The texting platform often can see what it is you're texting, right? The people on the
Yeah.
platform. And number two, just remember that there's nothing to stop whoever you're communicating with via text from screen capturing it and then posting it publicly for everybody to see as well, right?
Depending on the app you're using, law enforcement could request a warrant if there are data logs. If it is SMS, so like cell texting to each other the old-fashioned way, then those records can be pulled more easily.
Yeah. I'll ask the next one. How bad are the punishments for doxing? They can be significant. We had a teen in Vancouver who was arrested, charged, and convicted for both doxing and swatting. And he ended up doing a little bit of jail time in juvie and then put on probation as well. So, yeah, they can be pretty severe.
Can our teachers see our messages on Snapchat?
No,
they can't like randomly see it from externally and access that.
But if somebody else screen captures it, which is very capable of doing, and there's ways to bypass that. As most of you know, Snapchat has a function if somebody screen captures, you'll be notified, but there's ways to bypass that. So if somebody screen captures it and posts it publicly, well then, could the teacher see it then? Yeah, probably. But if you're just using it on Snapchat, no.
Does the Onion browser protect your data? It makes you more private, doesn't make you completely anonymous, but it's definitely a step in a direction of kind of making yourself more
What's an
private.
Onion router? Known as the Tor.
Tor browser, Onion router.
So what does it do?
It's a network of computers connected together that allow you, it's kind of like a VPN, but it's distributed.
And it kind of lets you access the deep web, right?
Yeah, there are some places on the internet you can only get access to if you're using that network to connect into it. So yeah, it does. It does have privacy built in, but it doesn't mean that you are anonymous. There are still ways to track people through using such browser.
I'll ask the next one and answer it. Can school admins look through our phones? The answer is depends. If they believe that you're using your phones for inappropriate reasons, in violation of the School Act or maybe the Criminal Code of Canada, yeah, you know what? They can look into your phone without a warrant. Whereas police, they need a warrant. School administrators, nope. As long as they believe that you're using the phone inappropriately in violation of the School Act or the Criminal Code, they have the right to look into your phone.
Yeah, it will be dependent on be dependent on your particular state, school rules, policies, and case law. So it really does depend. But usually, if there's extreme circumstances, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
What does a DDoS mean?
That means direct denial of service.
Well, distributed.
Or, sorry.
Distributed. Direct is something different. Yeah, distributed denial of service.
And that basically, where we see this a lot where it becomes problematic for youth is in gaming, where all of a sudden they identify your IP address and then they'll DDoS your IP for the purpose of attempting to shut down your router so that you use internet connection.
So basically
illegal.
How it works is a person gets a bunch of zombie computers, so they're devices that zombies.
Like,
yeah. They get a bunch of zombies. They're just like internet devices that aren't doing anything, but they have the internet connection, and they program them all to send data to one source that overloads it, that crashes it.
Yeah. You know what's amazing about this? These are questions from grade 4, 5 students, 6, 7 students, and 8 to 12 students. Like, it's just amazing some of the questions that we're getting, right? And we can't answer them all when we're doing our live virtuals, and that's why we're doing this one. But some of these questions are just like, wow, great questions.
Is it okay to have a YouTube channel for comedy? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it is.
Why not?
Yeah.
Next question.
What about the fact that VPNs don't block access to your specific computer settings and connections?
This is in your wheelhouse.
Well, you're correct. Yeah, VPNs are only a part of the holistic privacy network.
Ooh, big word. Holistic. What does that mean?
Just looking at everything. Bring everything involved.
Yeah, it's a part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
It's a piece of the puzzle.
There's about like 5 common tracking strategies that exist online today. And VPNs really only help.
I didn't know that. 5?
About 5 common ones.
Okay.
There's other smaller ones, but a VPN helps block 1.5 of those.
Okay.
So there's other ways you can still be tracked.
Yeah, it's part of a bigger strategy, right, to use. It's another piece of the puzzle to increase your privacy and security.
Can I get sued for using illegal streaming platforms without downloading videos? That is a very gray area in many case law.
Yeah, we actually spoke to one of Canada's leading lawyers on this, and his answer is technically, yes, you can, but will you? Depends, right?
Probably not. You probably the people who are hosting the platform that you are streaming from are more the ones that are going to get sued for the big dollars.
However, the lawyer did say if you're watching things illegally and breach of copyright, you could be held civilly liable. But the chances of that happening, extreme.
Yeah, and the case law on that is very loose. So there'll be a lot of time and effort in the courts to kind of prove that and make it a case. So a lot of people who are going after illegal streaming are going after the platforms who host.
Yes.
Plus they're the ones who usually have the money anyways.
Yeah, for sure. They have the deep pockets.
Why did you decide to work as an online investigator?
Primarily because that's where things were moving, right? As the internet and social media and technology became more popular, the criminal elements started to move into that field. So as a result of that, that's what piqued my interest, something new. So that's how I started to work in this area as an online investigator, because the criminals know that you can reach far more people more anonymously using technology, and the risks of getting caught are much lower than if you do it in person.
Yeah. My interest is in regards to, I just love technology. So I love breaking it apart, looking how to put it back together.
Yeah.
So
as can be seen, do you still have that computer behind us?
Yeah, there's a computer there.
There it is.
Yeah, there's a computer.
I mean, that was one of his first computers, and when he got it, first thing he did was took it apart. I mean,
so yeah, I mean, I like helping people, learning how technology works. So it kind of fits as a good job title.
I'll ask the next one. If I use cellular data, can they track me? The answer is yes, they can, right? Yes, they can.
Yeah, you're probably actually going to be more trackable using, depending on the tracking, but you're probably going to be more trackable using cellular, because on your home network, all your computers share your IP address. Right. On your cell network, your phone has a super specific number attached to only your phone.
What's interesting is you actually don't need to be using it in order to be tracked by it. As long as it's communicating with the cellular network, you can be pinged and located, right? So
yeah. So now it makes you, now you are kind of sometimes more secure using cellular.
Yes.
But you can technically be more tracked.
Yes.
So yeah. Do IP addresses show the location of the service provider or the private location of an individual? Great question. It is the service provider and their nearest node that services the area. Now, the service provider will have the information on the exact individual address. So,
and that's what law enforcement will do, is once they figure out an IP, once you got the IP, you'll figure out who the service provider is. Once we figure out who the service provider is, then we serve what's called a production order on the service provider, which will then provide us with the name of the person who owns that IP.
Right. So like a random online bad hacker, they won't know your exact location. They'll know your rough location, but say using other technology and other investigative sources, they might know your general location, which now limits their pool of people of who you possibly could be.
And that's one of the benefits of using VPN. A VPN can change my IP address, right? Yep. So although I'm in Victoria, I can show that I'm in Toronto or New York or wherever I want to be. So from a safety standpoint, it actually shows me in a different location.
Yeah. But hey, if you are posting videos on YouTube or TikTok and you're on the street and there's a sidewalk sign, well, that even further narrows you down. So, there's investigative techniques investigators use and online bad hackers.
For sure. I'll ask the next one. Is selling my data illegal in Canada? Probably not. Whenever you sign up for a social media platform, you're signing a terms of service. And usually within that term of service, the fine print is you're signing over all rights to whatever it is you're posting and doing, and therefore they can sell it. So in most cases, the answer is no. However, the Privacy Commissioner is starting to look more at this across our country. Provinces and even the National Privacy Commissioner is now looking at it and trying to put more constraints on companies being able to do that.
Yeah. Now, if it's publicly available data in the first place anyways, well, then it's already out publicly there.
For sure.
So it really does depend.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Doing what I'm doing right now, working with Brandon, sharing important information for both teens and adults, right? That's what I love about what it is that we do, and helping and enlightening, right? Because we believe our catchphrase, enlighten, not frighten, through facts, not fear. It's not just educating youth, but also educating parents, right? Because we still find that a lot of parents are still hyper vigilant that technology is bad and all these evil things. So one of the things that we do is we help to calm parents down to get them to understand that in most cases the technology is being used in positive ways, but there are some negative things that they need to be aware of as well. So I think the favorite part of my job is just educating young people about the realities in an open and honest way. Not just young people, but also adults.
Yep.
You too?
More recently, I'm really enjoying the broadcasting, helping, and engaging. But I'm also really enjoying the way of through media production and live production and post production, how to get our messaging to more people.
Yeah.
So I'm really focusing on that and really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Although video editing, a 2-hour presentation can sometimes be a little,
especially when your dad's going all the time without knowing I'm doing it, and you have to kind of filter that out.
Audio treatment is definitely a skill of patience.
Next question.
Do you think video games should be in the Olympics?
Well, in fact, it is. The International Olympic Committee has announced that they're going to make e-gaming a demonstration sport in the 2024 Summer Olympics. So, yeah.
This is an interesting topic because we're hearing a lot from like parents and caregivers in regards to gaming is not a sport, and I think there's a lot of discourse around what is a sport, and I think maybe we got to there's a lot of official sports that have been around for a long time that have little physical exertion. So maybe we got to think of it more as competition, formal competition.
Okay, if golf is a sport, then playing Minecraft is a sport. Like, come on.
Well, golf uses a lot of energy, and so is
doing this and doing this. That you're using a lot of energy too, right?
Do you know Minecraft hosts a yearly Excel competition?
Doesn't surprise me.
I mean, like that is some big brain competition right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see how this. People used to say, "Well, snowboarding is not a sport."
True.
It is now, right?
I guess if your definition of sport is physical exertion, how much of physical exertion classifies as a sport?
Okay, well, what about the new metaverse and using VR technology? Right now, it's interesting, right? It really is. So,
why do you use Mac computers?
Because I'm a Mac lover. I'm a Mac fanboy. No, Brandon uses both, right? Like you use both Mac and PC. Like this set runs mostly on PC, right?
Yeah, our computers are running on Macs. We do really enjoy Apple's Keynote.
Yeah.
That is a selling feature. We do work in the Apple ecosystem because we do a lot of media work. And
Mac just work. Like I remember when I had my PC, I was having problems all the time. Like I just don't experience that with the Mac.
Yeah. When it comes to like video editing, the current Macs are very good at video editing, especially the new
with that
studios.
new chip, right?
I want the studio.
I know you do.
I have no need for like 5 8K streams of video editing. One day maybe, but anyways, that's why.
It just works. I mean, it's simple. It works. It's extremely intuitive. It allows us to create these ecosystems. It just works, right?
Downside is that you can't
customize,
you can't upgrade, you can't repair.
Right.
So you gain some, you lose some.
Yeah.
But we technically here in the studio do use both.
I don't remember a time where I had to take my Mac in to be repaired, or my phone. Right? When you think about it, right? Like
they do last a long time.
They do.
Do the same things apply in virtual reality when it comes to things we talk about in our presentations?
Yeah. I mean, here's what I'm trying to get people, especially adults, to believe. Like, people still see a difference between the online world and the digital world, especially adults, where in today it's just one world, or what we call the on-life world. And a part of that on-life world is now virtual, the metaverse, right? So yes, everything that we share in our presentations applies no matter what you're doing in the on-life world.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You should play some Minecraft. I do.
He does. I don't. I'm a world of tanks, right? World of warships. But you're a mod, right? Like
I admin a couple servers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Should I trust the camera app?
It depends upon where you're downloading it from. So a good example, in the Android store, there were a couple of the camera apps that people were downloading that was actually malware. So you just want to make sure when you're downloading apps that you're doing it from reputable places, like the iTunes store or the app or the Google store. And even then, make sure you check out the app to make sure that it's not malicious malware, right? So,
do you have a Twitch account? The White Hatter, I mean, we don't officially have a Twitch account. We don't stream to Twitch.
However,
I help and I work with streamers on Twitch,
so
I'm familiar with it. But
you're very familiar with it.
Most of our live streaming programs are on YouTube.
But Twitch is cool, right? Twitch and Discord, and what you and your partner are doing on Twitch and Discord outside of the company is just spectacular.
Can you see everything that anyone does online? No,
you can't. No, you can't.
How can can you see what we post if our profiles are privatized?
Because although they may be private, there may be people in there that are actually screen capturing it, making it public. And there are some other programs out there that, although your IG account may be private, it still allows us to see who's connecting with you in those social media platforms.
Yeah.
Right.
Or when it comes to the back end, the company that you sign up for, Instagram, Facebook, Meta, can see all your stuff, and that can also be provided by a warrant from a police officer.
Yeah.
So,
can apps like Instagram steal my email and info?
What do you mean by steal? I mean, they're not going to do it without asking you. Normally, they'll ask you, sign up with your email, which then they have your email, provide your information. So you are giving them information. So is that stealing? No. But anything you give them, they can use.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Whatnot.
I'll read the next one. Do social media platforms grab your IP address?
Yeah. Almost every website you visit knows your IP address.
And then they also, once they do that, they drop a cookie. So next time you try to connect with them, it's faster to do it, right? So,
are VPNs traceable by law enforcement?
The answer is maybe.
Depends on the VPN. If it is a properly built VPN, which is usually a paid-for service, it does get very difficult.
Not impossible.
Not impossible. There are ways to track people using VPNs through other methods. Again, VPNs only block maybe 1.5 of the most common tracking strategies. So there are other ways.
The next question, this one kind of makes me laugh. How many people can see my incognito asking for a friend? Basically, all I want you to think, all the incognito mode does is it prevents the history on your computer from recording what it is you're doing and where you're going. That's it. It does nothing more other than that.
Yeah, so like if you were looking to be more private online, using incognito with a VPN is actually pretty good option.
And maybe a different browser on like Google Chrome. Maybe think about using the Brave browser or Firefox browser as a good example.
Yeah, it does depend what plugins you have.
Exactly.
Sometimes the plugins in your browser will collect and leak information.
Yeah, for sure.
Can universities still see your page if it's private?
No.
Probably not.
No, probably not. However, again, if we had a nickel for every time we heard people say, well, it was private. But the problem is that you may have frenemies in that social network that you're unaware of that will see things and they'll screenshot it and then post it publicly. Again, that's why our message is always, no matter what the platform, no matter what your privacy settings, just understand that as soon as you hit that send button, what you're posting is becoming public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and for sale. Right? Like, never forget that rule.
I have an English and Chinese first name. With universities and businesses be searching both, which one should I use more to establish my online dossier?
Use whatever name you're going to use when you're applying to the college or university.
Yeah, use whatever name you think that they would prefer in whatever region that you are working in.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen some people who have different names. They will put in the profile their preferred name, brackets, their other name.
Yes.
So you can kind of double dip.
That's a good idea, actually. I prefer that as an idea. I mean, use a name that you're probably going to apply to a college, university, or employer with, but if you want, put the secondary name in a bracket beside it. Yeah, great idea.
Assuming the platform allows that, but most do to some degree. Thoughts on Linux over Windows and Mac OS for security
This is
reasons.
one for you, man.
So Linux is great. I've used Linux. It is wonderful. It is a powerhouse. It's very flexible and usable. Downside is that there isn't really a lot of built-in security per se. You are usually required yourself to implement a security policy and practices in security. There are some security programs for Linux now that work on Linux. Thing is that hackers and scammers aren't usually targeting Linux. So you're safe because people aren't necessarily looking for that, but we are seeing Linux users increasing, and we are seeing an increase in hacks and viruses for that platform.
Yeah, as soon as platforms become more popular, they're now being targeted more, right? Like the old saying was, if you had a Mac computer, don't worry about it, because Macs, a lot of people weren't using when they first came out. But once they started to become popular, poof, all of a sudden Macs became like
right now, the amount of Mac and Windows hacks and viruses are pretty equal.
Yeah, they're getting there. Yeah.
Macs are computers. They're
Yep.
kind of just as hackable. But, 20 years ago, who had a Mac?
Yeah.
No one.
Do you remember those advertisements? A lot of the teens that are watching may not recall them, where it was the Mac versus PC, those commercials.
Yeah, John Hodgman and Justin Long.
Yes,
Yeah.
remember those? Those were kind of funny, right?
Those were some of the best Apple commercials.
They were. Yeah, they were.
Incorrect in regards to how they talked about security,
Yeah.
but they were fun.
Yeah, they were.
I just got my first phone recently and made my first social media account, but didn't use my real name or any personal information. I also didn't follow anyone. Am I anonymous?
Well, you're making yourself harder to find. Technically, you're not anonymous because the internet knows about you, especially if they know your IP and all that kind of stuff. But you're definitely making yourself less visible.
Yeah, you did sign up for a social network. Although you're not following anybody, the social network now has a data profile on you,
Right.
and your device, which does leak information about you, is being shared with that social network and websites you visit.
Yeah.
So,
This next
not
question.
exactly.
This next question. Are you a vigilante? No.
Batman.
No. Next question. Do you suggest onion encryption? Again, onion is the Tor router, the onion router. What do you think?
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, it really depends what you're using it for.
Yeah.
Usually, again, you're not completely anonymous.
I do suggest a lot of young people are now wanting the onion router. The reason they're doing that is they want to get down into the deep web. And one of the things that I say to young people is you got to be very careful about when you go down into the deep web. There's some cool things that go on down there, don't get me wrong, but there's some really ugly things. But the issue is just by hitting some of the sites on the deep web, you could infect your device. So if you're going to go down there, you got to make sure that you put proper safety and security protocols in place as well to protect your system, right? Which a lot of young people don't do.
Yep. If my username and email are connected but don't have my full name in it, how can I make it still show up in Google first page results?
So if my username and email connected don't have my full name in it,
Yeah.
how can I make it still show up in Google first page?
It depends on what your purpose is. So generally you don't want your email on Google's first page. You definitely want to connect to social networks that using your professional email.
Yeah, we talk about that in our leveraging program where there are certain social networks that we recommend that are indexed by Google. And because the more Google indexes those pages, the more likely it is going to show up on the first page of Google. And that's what we want teens to do, is we want them to own them and curate the first page of Google so they know exactly what college, university employers are going to see about them when they Google their name.
Yep. How long have you been a white hatter for?
The company's been around now for a long time, but
Almost 29 years now?
Yeah, almost 29. I think doing the white hat side of things, about 10 years.
Maybe 12?
Yeah. We've been going hard for the past 8 to 10 years. So, yeah.
If you visited a bad website in school Wi-Fi, I'm very embarrassed. What if?
Yeah. You can always end up on a site by by accident, right? Like that's just a part of today's. It happens to me all the time where you click a link, think you're going to go someplace, and all of a sudden you end up on a site and you go, "Whoa, shouldn't I be on that site?" Just delete, right? Just get out of there. Don't spend any time in there whatsoever. Because if you say to them, "Well, I clicked on the site," and I immediately, they're going to know how long you spent on that site, right?
Depending on how the IT is set up, there is ability to see the length of the session.
So just if you end up on a site, then you're going to go, "Whoa, just get out of it." And then if somebody questions, you can just say, "Well, I hit there accidentally, didn't mean to hit there, and I saw it, so I immediately got out."
Should be in the time records.
Yeah.
If you use a different name but the same last name, will it connect?
Depends, right? Like again, it depends. I think what's important for young people to understand is that you want your social media to reflect who you are, right? Especially when it comes to college, universities, sporting teams, or employers who are going to be Googling your name as a part of the recruitment process. So,
is it possible to recover a picture on Snapchat that is not saved or screenshotted? If so, how?
It depends. You can't, but law enforcement can, but only for a short period of time.
Yep.
I mean, Snapchat has said that pictures and everything posted is stored on their servers for a length of time. I'm not going to say what that time is. Most of the metadata, however, associated to that picture, whatever you're posted there, they keep, and all that is accessible by law enforcement. But you, as a person who owns, won't be able to recover it.
Can universities hack into group chats?
No. And they won't do that either. Universities and colleges, they're really only looking for publicly available information.
If I have a common name, what can I do about other accounts ruining my reputation because we have the same name?
That happens all the time. Like, I'm lucky. There's no other Darren Lores in the world, but there's another Brandon Lore in the world, right? Like he's a financial consultant in Ontario. So one of the things that you can do, one of the things that we counsel young people to do is associate a profile picture of yourself to that name so that they know that when they're looking at the name Brandon Lore, they know you are the one they're looking for and not the other person located in Ontario, right? So,
And a good chance that person may not be using the best strategies in trying to own the first page of Google. So if you are implementing strategies that we talked about in the leveraging program, which is where this question comes from, you can kind of push them down.
Yeah. Are there any video images besides the obvious make illegal things that you would very much recommend avoid posting? When it comes to posting things, I always say stay away from anything to do with religion, politics, and sexuality, right? Like if you stay away from those three things, most cases you're going to be great because those three things can elicit strong emotional responses to things. And so those are the three things that I kind of recommend people stay away from. Also be very careful about who you're reposting and who you're following because people look at that as well. So be very careful about that.
Is it better to use a browser like Brave plus DuckDuckGo to reduce the online footprint, or is it better to increase your online footprint to help universities find me?
I think it depends. If you're looking for privacy issues, combining Brave and DuckDuckGo are a really good way to go. But you know what? Brave and DuckDuckGo, if you're owning the first page of Google using the techniques that we teach in our leveraging program, both the DuckDuckGo is still going to pick up on those things, right?
Yeah, so Brave and DuckDuckGo are great. It's not as if, so when it comes to privacy and being found, it's what you are personally posting yourself.
Correct.
It's not as if your data from your Chrome browser or your Google searches are going to be seen by universities.
No.
That's more about Brave and DuckDuckGo is protecting yourself from data gathering from those companies.
Right.
So
that's a really good way to put it.
It's really not necessarily going to help your footprint with universities. It can definitely help you when you're searching yourself see different results.
Yes.
That might be useful for you for your own counterintelligence.
Yeah, and that's because of the thing, and we talk about this in more detail with regards to filter bubbles associated and removing filter bubbles, right? To see what the extra internet sees about you that you may not see, but employers, colleges, universities may see.
Do VPNs really work?
Most of them do, depending upon the VPN, right? That's why we say go with a premium VPN rather than a free one.
In the perfect world and how they're designed, yes. But we have seen data breaches, we have seen hacks, we have seen flaws, usually from the cheap or free ones. So in the perfect world, yes. But again, they're not a one solution to all your online problems.
Next question. Using a VPN spoofer, would that be able to hide your IP?
Yep. Just make sure your VPN that you use and purchase does not keep a log of your IP. Some do.
And just understand that depending upon the situation, law enforcement, if they get involved, even if you're using a VPN, they still may be able to identify your IP.
Yep. In the LastPass password app, should you keep your own passwords or have harder ones generated for you? Doesn't matter. So should you have the app generate the passwords for you automatically?
What do you think?
There's nothing wrong with that. I personally do all my passwords myself, but I do know the automated password system creates a very good, strong password.
Yeah, personally, we believe the same thing, but we personally also have a hard copy backup as well, where we write them down into a book and we keep that in a secure place in the home. And the reason we do that is, I hate to say this, upon our death, especially when it comes to wills and all that kind of stuff. You may not be able to get into my LastPass because I didn't share the original password with you, but you'll find it in the book that we have, right? So, but yeah.
How is DDoSing similar to swatting?
Well, here's the difference. Swatting, what swatting basically is that you learn about where somebody lives, and then what you do is you connect with local law enforcement and say, I just walked by this person's place, and I think I saw a couple people in there who were bound to a chair with their eyes blindfolded, and the guy was standing above them with a gun. So what's the first thing law enforcement does? They initiate emergency response, commonly known as SWAT teams, to attend and deal with the situation. It's what we call swatting. A part of swatting is DDoSing, right? Because the DDoS allows you to get the information that you need to connect with the police to say at this address, at this location, this is what's happening. Both cases illegal.
Yeah, DDoSing can be used. Sometimes people will use them in conjunction.
Yeah.
Now, they are technically different, but they both are illegal activity that people do online. So that's why we kind of relate those two together. They're just examples of people know things about you, so they do targeted things against you.
Yeah. Why did you start doing this show? This specific show? Because we were being inundated with so many questions in our live presentations to schools that we didn't have enough time to answer them. So that's why we created this Q&A show for that specific reason.
Yeah, these are all the top voted questions from students in those live broadcasts.
And some great questions. Last question.
How do social media sites deal with reports of bullying, etc.?
They've been getting way better. I mean, let's be honest. In the past, not so much, but today, most of them are getting pretty good at dealing with them. Some may take longer than others. I mean, you got to think about it. Like IG, Instagram is a good example. They probably get thousands, if not tens of thousands, of reports every day on these issues. So it could take them days, maybe even weeks to deal with. But most of them are getting pretty good at dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, there's usually 3 steps. One, they have an automated system that automatically scans their
I'm
networks
a bot.
for anything that's against their rules. And then they have the reporting system where if enough people report something, it will indicate to the moderators of that platform, hey, take a look at this, or it will automatically deal with it. And then 3, these platforms do have human reviewers, definitely not as many as they need, and there's questions around the labor laws and how they do their work. But that being said, there are human reviewers as well, but mostly it's automated. And then based on the number of reports, we'll deal with them from if one account has 1,000 reports, they're probably going to take a look at that.
Yep.
That's why if you see something bad that's against the rules, report it, because the site then learns from that.
Wow. Great Q&A show. I mean, it is amazing to see some of the questions coming from grade 4, 5, 6, 7s, and 8 to 12s, right? Like it blows my mind, which tells me that they're really paying attention when we're doing our presentations. And like I say, we're just inundated. Like today, the presentation I just did today to a high school on the issues of cyberbullying, sexting nudes, and intimate images in the law. Like we couldn't keep up with the messages, right? So we want to answer the most important messages, and this platform allows us to do that.
You betcha.
Kind of cool.
And that's it for this month. We'll see you all next month, and tune into our weekly YouTube news shows. My name is Brandon.
I'm Darren.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Stay safe.